This segment is brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Welcome back to Farm Factor and the Kansas Soybean Update.
This is the Kansas Soybean Update. It's brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Dr. Kevin Donnelly, professor of agronomy at Kansas State University, joins us. And Dr. Donnelly, you once again were the judge of the soybean plant competition at the Kansas State Fair.
Yes, I enjoyed doing that. We had a good number of entries this year, so maybe one of the largest classes that we have down there, all the different classes.
With several different classes for that judging, I'm sure there are specific guidelines for each of the classes itself.
First of all, they're divided into maturity groups, so there's groups 3, 4, and 5. We don't typically have a lot of 5s here, so that's the first cut, but we had about 15 to 20, I guess, in each of the group 3 and 4 categories.
What are some of the highlights that you saw and I guess quality of what you saw in the soybean plants?
It was pretty tough this year because we had quite a lot of variability in maturity. Even though it's by group, it still doesn't put them all at the same maturity level at the time they're picked. So, we're generally looking for certainly good pod set. Within a maturity group, they usually show it a little better if the pods are further along, but we try to compensate for that. If there's looks like a less mature but has a good pod set, why that may still be the better sample. So we're looking for that. Freedom from disease. They have to be bundled in a group of 5 with some roots on them. So appearance is somewhat of a factor. Soybeans are a beautiful plant in the field, but when you put them and try to tie them in a bundle, a little unruly to get orderly. So we don't really count for appearance maybe so much as we would in some of the other crop fair classes. So we're looking for good pod set, freedom from disease. They are to be shown with the roots, so make sure the roots are all intact. And because we have differences in height due to varieties and so forth, it's kind of a tough job to estimate that, but we wound up this year, I think, with probably more diversity within maturities in the class than it normally was.
For this competition, for this show, sponsored by the Kansas Soybean Commission, I know premiums were awarded, but it's important to have competitions like this.
It's very good for, if nothing else, it's to expose the urban public who comes to the fair to agriculture. I remember when I was myself taking stuff to the state fair back in high school, that Pride of Kansas building was solid, full of crops and vegetables, and now it's unfortunately not as prominent, but it's good to still have that presence there, I think. And for the producers that bring them in, it's important, I think, for them to showcase their crop and be able to select some good-looking plants to bring in.
Dr. Donnelly, we appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Greg.
Dr. Kevin Donnelly, professor of agronomy at Kansas State University, joins us on the Kansas Soybean Update. It's brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Learn more at kansassoybeans.org. For Kansas Soybeans, I'm Greg Akagi.
Hope you enjoyed this week's Kansas Soybean Update. Stay with us after the break for more Farm Factor with Kyle and Joe Cornelius.
I will take action against herbicide-resistant weeds. I will know my weeds, and I will stop them before they go to seed. I will do whatever it takes to give my crops the upper hand, and I will use multiple herbicide sites of action because every action counts. I will take action, this time for all time.